Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds here, back again. This week, we are doing a SuperFlex tight end premium mock draft, discussing some strategy, what we like to do, what we don't like to do.
Me and the boys go through what we did.
I actually took a player that I don't think I've ever taken.
And let's see if Matt lets people walk on his lawn.
I will upload you later.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Dotson. He's Matthew O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Gareth Price.
How's it going?
And he's Jared Lee Weckerly.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, damn it. What up?
What? Oh, you got it.
You forgot which one.
Edit out later. Reinsert your voice.
What up?
He had to put it in so you could put it back in.
What you should do is you should change out and put like Fat Albert's hey in there. That's not Jared. Like prove it. Hey. We're back with another Dynasty show. This week we're talking SuperFlex tight end premium startup strategy, and there's no better way to talk strategy and how you go about it than an actual draft, a mock draft. We went into our Dynasty Nerds Discord, which is a great perk of being a Nerd Herd member, which you could do. You join Nerd Herd, join our Discord. You have access to all of us and almost 2,000 other Nerd Herd members so far. We just launched it. It's been going pretty well.
Yeah.
So we did a mock draft, and we're going to talk about that day. We're going to go through our picks, other people's picks, kind of make fun of these people, talk about how great we are, and how well we did. It's going to be pretty fun.
If you're in the Discord channel, make sure you got notifications on because that thing filled up in like 30 seconds.
It was fast.
Yeah. And we do more of this. We're looking for way more perks for the Nerd Herd, and we got some more coming down the line. Join the Nerd Herd. You'll find out. You'll get all these perks. You'll be walking around all percolated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Poking people that are like 5'2" eyes out.
I thought you were going to say something about nipples.
So did I.
Yeah, it was about nipples.
It's kinda,
Yep.
So you got to be 5'2", so it hits you in the eye.
Because that's your nipple height.
My nipple height.
I get it now.
Personally.
I believe that you've probably measured to see exactly how tall that is.
They say that your nipples directly line up.
Nope.
They say your nipples directly line up with your
earlobes.
Like if you take your earlobe straight down, it lines up with your nipple. It's supposed to be a law or like a rule.
A law.
Wow.
Do it. I'm telling you. It's
kinda
supposed to be
does.
something. You do that, it's supposed to line up.
Your head is tilted.
Wow.
There you go. It always lines up.
It works perfect.
He's got taco neck syndrome.
So before
like the tip or
The bent neck lady.
just a tip. So before we go into the mock draft, I gotta tell you first about our friends over at Prize Picks. They're
you
like,
do.
dude, Rich, Prize Picks, you talk about it every week. What is it? It's a over under prop bet kind of thing. Action. You know what I mean? You want to get some action? You want to win 10 times your entry? Prize Picks. That's where it's at, fellas, gals. You get in there, use the promo code NERDS. They're going to give you a 100% deposit match up to $100. And then you get in there, you find some futures bets, you find some over-unders that you like, and you put some action on it. Any sport, all at once. Take all the sports, combine them together, get a hodgepodge of awesomeness, and then you put some action down. You compete with other people, then you win 10 times your money if you do awesome. Like right now, 3,800 yards from Matt Ryan. Over-under. Smashing the over.
Going over for sure.
He's a quarterback.
Frank Reich.
Yeah.
New system.
17 games.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Smash it. Look, we just gave you free money. Boom. It's that simple.
You are welcome.
It's that simple. You get on there, you use the promo code NERDS, you make a bet. If you make an NFL futures bet and you use the promo code NERDS, what we're going to do is not only is Prize Picks going to back you up with an instant deposit match, so you got double money, so all of a sudden you're walking around like you're Jeff Bezos. On top of that, Mr. and Mrs. Bezos, we're going to send you a Dynasty Nerds t-shirt. That's right, a t-shirt. The most comfortable shirt. Just go to our YouTube channel right now. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button, notification button, all that jazz. Support us. And look at our shirts. Look at us. Please comment below on this video that you're watching here. Who's more handsome besides Matt?
Pecs are
Besides
just
Matt.
ripping through that shirt. So.
I know this guy, dude.
That's medium over
he
there.
He looks good. He works out all above. He's a whole
It's a
package.
large.
Yeah. I was like, Matt, did you lose
It's
weight? He's
so
like, yeah, I was
large.
doing battle
He's
ropes
shrew-
earlier and jump rope.
Yeah.
He shrunk it.
Matt's a complete package. I'm just like the tape that holds the package together. So disappointing.
I'm the guy that didn't make it in the package.
May I add
But
to
I'm married.
this, Rich?
I'm married.
2 for 2.
What?
Go to the show notes if you're listening
yeah.
to the show on podcast, or if you're on YouTube, go to the description, and there's a link for a Google form.
Google's.
If you sign up with Prize Picks using promo code NERDS, go fill out that form because you will enter for a chance to have your team audited on our Dynasty
We just had
team.
one of those come out.
Yeah, we did with Juno.
We did.
Yeah, and we're recording another one this week. And we're going to be pumping
We know
those
about
out.
it now.
Oh, we are?
Yep, we are.
Maybe.
Get
Allegedly.
your schedule
We'll see.
ready, boy.
Tell my kids we watched a second episode of The Boys. But we'll see.
Anyway, yeah, we're going to audit your team. So I'll tell you if you're a contender, you should enter a rebuild, some trades you should make with your league mates.
You have a chance to have your team audited, is what it is. So
Telling
you get
me
a shirt
there's a
guaranteed,
chance.
and then you get entered in the pool to get your team audited. And what's great about it is once you get entered in the pool, you stay in the pool. So eventually, if we live long enough, you will get your team audited on YouTube.
Does it get chilly in the pool? I get cold when
I have
I'm
a
in there
heated
for
pool.
too long.
I have a heated pool.
Even at 80 degrees, it gets cold after a while.
Dude, I signed up for Prize Picks. Now I have a heated pool.
What kind of breeze is there?
Abracadabra, bitches.
Breeze is important.
It is. The shade to
I like a
sun
good
ratio,
breeze.
also a big time factor.
All right, mock draft time.
Mock
Are you ready?
draft.
So I had the 10th pick. Matt, you had the 7th pick.
I did, yeah.
Jared, you had the 4th pick, and Garrett had the 2nd pick.
We spread out nicely.
We were very spread. Yeah,
So-
that was good.
Spread it.
Mr. Liam Steventon, he's a Nerd Herd member. He had a first pick in a SuperFlex tight end premium draft.
number 1 pick.
What did he take? Was it Josh Allen? Was it Justin Herbert? Was it Pat Mahomes?
Pat Mahomes, perhaps.
Did he get frisky and get risky with Kyler Murray? No, he
No.
didn't. He
No,
did
no.
Jonathan Taylor.
A,
for
B, C,
me,
D, E.
In
None
a
of the above.
SuperFlex league, this is the worst possible pick you can make. The worst possible
He's
pick
like,
you can
I'm
make.
so glad I'm a Nerd Herd member.
Hey, shout out to the Nerd Herd member from England, and that is
Liam.
Liam.
No disrespect. No, I'm just
Did you
giving my
say
opinion.
disrespect or no disrespect?
No.
No, disrespect. Total
Roasted.
disrespect. Listen, this is what I would take of taking any running back 1 overall in a Superflex league. It's like you meet a girl and you marry her on the first date because how she looks, right?
You
You're gonna-
you mar her?
Mar her.
I can't.
Mary?
Oh, sorry, I don't
Murray,
enunciate
Kyler
and I have a speech
Murray.
impediment. Yeah, make fun of the handicap. Thank you so much. But like, you meet her, you marry her the first day just because of the way she looks, and you know you're going to score a lot early.
That early, that
But
first
like,
couple months.
you only marry her just because the way she looks, nothing else. But
Yeah.
you don't realize this is Dynasty.
Yeah.
And you have to stay together.
Those looks are gonna
for a
fade.
long time,
Yeah.
and eventually you're going to stop scoring way sooner than everybody else. And then all of a sudden your whole life is just falling apart because you're not scoring anymore. This is a catastrophe.
It is.
A catastrophe. You're going to be sitting here 4 years later going, "Oh my God, I should have said hi first."
Maybe she's new to the country, and Rich was the first person she saw, and boom, she married him. She's all over Rich for the first 3 months, and then she starts seeing some other guys.
If you had the
even
one-on-one,
worse.
Rich,
Yeah.
who would you have taken?
I would have taken Pat Mahomes.
Okay.
That's what I would have taken. Or
Because Garrett was up next.
I mean, listen, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, you can't go wrong, right? Like
I'm fine with any of those.
you can't go wrong there. And even if you went Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, and you had a plan, and we'll get to his plan when he comes back. If you have a plan, I can live with it. I don't like the plan, but listen, I've never been to war. I've never made a plan, so I don't know. But taking a running back who
Is that the only place you make
That's it. That's it. I've never been to war, so I've never made a plan.
Never planned for
Never planned.
anything.
Nothing.
well, it's good to have a plan in war, right?
It is.
Yeah, no doubt.
And in other, like, business is a good place to have a plan.
Listen, I have businesses that I own, and I don't plan anything. Why do you think I'm so successful?
Makes sense.
Things happen.
I stand corrected.
Why do you think I have a heated pool out there? Come on, call me Richard
Prize
Bezos.
Picks.
That's why he has us.
But like even so, here's the thing: Jonathan Taylor, easily the number 1 running back in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Easily, right?
Correct.
Okay. If Jonathan Taylor gets 5 more years, you're like, you hit a home run.
Yeah,
becomes
because
a
it's
running
a 7-year career.
back. But after those 5 years are up, Pat Mahomes is still scoring way more points than him because he's not even playing or
Correct.
scoring any points.
Yeah.
But on top of that, every one of those quarterbacks we just mentioned will outscore Jonathan Taylor every single year. Every single year.
Even though I'm 100% with you, I would never take Jonathan Taylor that high. He wouldn't even be in my top 7 or 8 probably in a startup. That said, the only thing I will give him is currently right now in Dynasty, there is such a big gap between the RB1 and Jonathan Taylor for Dynasty and whoever you have as your RB2. I think a lot of people, Christian McCaffrey, Javante's in there, DeAndre Swift. Like, there's just such a big gap between those guys. Even though I would never do it, if you were going as an all-in win-now team, I could understand
No.
it.
Here's
I
why.
wouldn't do it.
Here's another reason why. Yeah, there's a real big gap right now.
Sure.
But let's look at it next year and go, you know what? And go back every single year from the previous year and you're like, oh, there's a big gap. Oh, there's a big gap. Wow, those gaps aren't that big for how quickly they close.
It's a new player almost every year.
Sure.
That has that big gap.
Meanwhile, Mr.
that's
Patrick Mahomes has been at the top continually. So
The difference, though, I think, is Jonathan Taylor is so safe compared to literally any other running back that is in the NFL right now.
safe. Did you hear what they're going to do with Nyheim Hines?
Yeah, they said that last year, too.
I know, I'm just throwing that out there as another jab to Liam, my guy across the pond.
But
Now,
to Rich's point that no one is safe. No, I don't. I mean, he is short-term safe. No one is long-term insulated like
For
a
sure,
quarterback.
for
So
sure.
I
I'm
think
just
that's
saying
the point that he's trying to make.
If there's any running back that I would feel confident in health, in situation, in age, and he checks all of those boxes.
He definitely does. Yeah.
well,
yeah.
good thing he checks those boxes.
But I still
For
wouldn't take him in the top
you
8.
were at 1-2, and all of a sudden now you're sitting there at the 1-1.
Right.
Now, and I would, before you go, at least you didn't take a bad player.
At least he did take a good player, at least.
Yes.
You were at
correct.
1-2. What'd you do?
I had a tough decision because I was kind of excited about being at 1-2 because it would have narrowed the field for me.
Yeah.
Then I still had the same 3 quarterbacks at 2 that you would have at the top. And I had a really hard time deciding. I love Patrick Mahomes. I think he's probably the most talented, I would argue, of the group. I think Justin Herbert, he's obviously a year or two younger. At their age, it doesn't really matter much.
I agree with that. Yep.
But he is a little bit younger. He's got a bright future ahead of him. He's in a great division there. But Josh Allen, I think we know exactly what we're getting. There's no change of scenery for any of his players. It's a good team that we know has a pretty easy division. There just seem to be a lot of even in the rushing upside. The one guy that they drafted is not a guy that I'm afraid is going to take goal line stuff away from him. So everything seemed to just still go his way. You could flip a coin and I'd be fine with any of them, but I ended up landing on Josh Allen.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with those top 3 guys. Right. Number 3 team took Pat Mahomes. Number 4 team, Jared Wackerly, went out on a limb there and took Justin Herbert, which is nice because everybody made the decision for him.
That made his life really nice. Yeah.
Was there the question I have for you, Jared, was there any other, was it a slam dunk pick? Here it is, it's done. Or did you consider any other quarterback?
I considered Kyler Murray,
Okay.
but I
Or the receivers? Did you consider either of the receivers at
no,
all?
I was going quarterback.
Yeah.
I was SuperFlex leagues.
If I'm taking in the top 5 or 6, I'm taking quarterback no matter
Yeah.
what.
If I'm picking the first round, I'm taking a quarterback every time. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a quarterback.
I want to
'cause
solidify.
I don't want to
that
be there on the way
position.
back.
You would take Lamar Jackson or Dak or those guys ahead of Justin Jefferson?
Yeah.
Would you? Okay.
I want a cornerstone player. I did. We'll get to my guy, but listen, in a Superflex league, now those guys are cornerstone players,
They are.
but in a Superflex tight end premium league, I want cornerstone players. And I want cornerstone. If a league starts off, the name of the league is Superflex tight end premium, and these players are the bonus players, then I want more of the bonus players, right? Those are the cornerstone players in my eyes. I want those guys because it's a much limited commodity because they're going to go first in your rookie drafts,
Right.
and they're going to get drafted much higher in your startup draft. So you're going to blink an eye, and all of a sudden you're going to be a have-not. And the last thing I want to do in my Dynasty league is be a have-not.
Right.
So going into this draft, I'm identifying, I'm taking a quarterback in the first round. I want to see what quarterbacks are in the second round, but I also want to see what tight ends available because I want one of those guys because we know how small that pool is,
Very
right?
small.
So it's again, they're the haves and the have-nots, and I prefer in dynasty leagues or any fantasy league to be a have. And then if I do take a tight end there, if I do pivot because like somehow Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase went off the board and I take them there, how do I get back to that? What I wanted in the first place? So the very next pick after Justin Herbert, it went Justin Jefferson to in by Tuin. Then I went to Harry Pizza. He took Kyler Murray. Then Matt was on the clock. And Matt, where'd you go?
Well, at that point, I was kind of wavering between a few different quarterbacks at that point because obviously the top 3 or 4 guys on my list were gone, and it was really I narrowed it down to between Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow. But I went with the little bit the few more years, and I went Joe Burrow.
3 or 4 years
Yep.
there.
Yep. So that was my pick there. I thought it was pretty easy at that point. I mean, the way he finished last season and the hope for the future there is just so bright. So I just went Joe Burrow.
And I just went into like my strategy into my startup. Like I already had that in my mind how I was going to. Do you go into this draft with that? Do you have a strategy in mind as well, Matt? Like, I'm going to this draft. I'm focusing on these couple players early on for my cornerstones.
So I don't necessarily hone in on certain players, but I want to get age ranges at at like position, at quarterback, I want to be this young and I want to be in the elite status. If I can't get that, maybe I'll move on to a slightly older player. Like I would have gone Dak Prescott there, who was I think 27 or something. He's not old, 28 maybe, but he's 3 or 4 years older than Joe Burrow, and obviously you want to be able to get guys for as long as possible, but I like to be I'm flexible. I mean, I'm picking 7 here. The strategy I go in with might be a little bit different, just depending on how the draft board falls to me, and that's throughout the entire draft. I might start with one certain strategy, and as the board drops to me, I might have to kind of flip and go in a different route.
I'm very similar in that sense where. Usually the first round, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm doing in the first. Yeah, especially if I'm in the top 5 picks, you know roughly what you're getting.
Yep. I'm getting one of these guys.
Right. But I'm the same way. I kind of let the draft fall to me. And it's even different in a real startup as opposed to a mock because you also have to factor in all the trading that goes on too.
Right.
So there's a lot of times where if I was picking at 2, I'm probably attempting to trade down if I can get a good haul for it. So it's very fluid process for me. Sometimes I'll go in thinking like, oh, this is going to be a good contending team. And as the board just keeps falling, I guess I'm more of a young up and coming type team, or, or maybe I'm dealing a lot for picks and I'm really going towards the future. It's each draft. I think as soon as you try to force a plan, you really can screw yourself over.
You really can. Do you guys do a lot of in draft like startup trading?
I do a lot.
Do you?
I love to.
Try to. Depends on the league.
Yeah.
I try to too. I try to trade back more than often, and if I do try to trade up, I try to trade up on a very minimum scale, like just a few picks. Where it doesn't the cost isn't that exorbitant, right? Like if there's a player I feel like might get sniped on, like Mike Williams is there, and I pick 4 picks away, like I don't want to risk it. Can I trade up 4 spots, and I'll let you move up 4 spots this round, the next round, and the round after that, and it usually gets it done because it's not a big haul.
I build my team a lot through rounds 3 through 6, so I'm usually trading back to get into those range, and then once I get past that, I'm trying to trade into like round 6 or something like that to get those. And it depends; the tiers change a little bit.
Be a
but
good way to pick up cheap future first too.
Exactly.
Even like you said, if you move out of 2. Move down to 112, but you get an extra 3rd out of it. That's a premier player you're getting, or a 4th, or a 5th. Like you're getting a premier.
And we're saying
player
start up 3rd, 4th, 5th, not
that's what a start up 5th, where you're going to get Michael Pittman Jr. You're going to get a Kenneth Walker. You know what I mean? Like you're going to get a really good player there, and people don't think about that because it's like, oh, it's just a 5th, but I'm getting this player.
You're getting
you're still coming away with a good high end player early. And I think the key word here that Matt used was flexibility going to a startup SuperFlex, not even a SuperFlex tight end premium. Any draft. And people ask me, I just did a guest show with Evan just a couple days ago, Evan Brown. And I was saying, he was like, what's the number one advice that you would give for people in a startup? And I was like, just have flexibility and don't reach, right? Don't force a position. Right. If the best player at the board clearly out of a different tier is a wide receiver and you just so happen to fade running back because that's how the draft played out, don't take a running back that's 30 ranks down over the receiver. Take the best player available.
You can always trade later.
You figured out like most drafts are happening right now. That's why we're doing this show, right? Like June, July, you get a lot of startups. You have plenty of time to figure it out. Injuries are going to happen. A player on the bottom of your roster might pan out that you didn't think would pan out as a running back. Just take the best player available. This is Dynasty. It's long-term. Figure that out later.
Perfect example of this. I didn't pick my first running back until the 8th round of this draft. So, I mean, I totally faded running back, and it wasn't purposefully. It was because other players just dropped to me, and they were higher on my board than the running backs that were there. And, I ended up with Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my first guy. We'll get into that later.
And we're going to talk about it at the end of the draft in the Nurture Show. We're going to go through each of our individual teams and kind of break those down and how it kind of panned out. And we'll do it during the show as well, too. But, yeah, Matt is a clear example. He faded the running back, which is the number one position I usually do fade in Dynasty startups because I can grab PPR guy later. I try to grab one good guy. But, again, it's the plug and play. It's the only really good plug and play position in Dynasty. So, if my team's bad, I'm getting a really good running back next year. If my team's good, then I'm just fine anyways. I could trade for a backup running back later who's now the starter for the last 6 weeks of the season. Like, it's possible. I could fill that hole easily.
There's that aging running back group that are starting to bounce around.
Much easier to get.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott. There's James Conner, the 1-year rental type of guy. That'll be available in season for you if you are a true contender. That I feel totally comfortable using as like a 1 year type of.
And
rental.
there's great value in those guys late in your draft. Like you mentioned Zeke Elliott. We'll see where he went. Great value where he went.
Right.
Guys like James Conner, Miles Sanders, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs. There's value at running back. Even more reason why I'm not taking a running back early because there's always those guys that are running back ones are still pretty good that people are just they're faded in Dynasty, right? And then that just opens a window for you. And we'll see how late some of these guys went. And some of us grabbed those guys, so I'm excited to talk about them. After Joe Burrow went, J-Del 9 took Jamar Chase. R.S. Wessel 1 was on the clock next. He took Deshaun Watson. Then I was clock at 110. I took Dak Prescott. Just as Matt had mentioned earlier, I was taking a quarterback. To me, this was an easy pick. Yeah. I slightly consider Lamar Jackson here.
Sure.
But thinking long-term, more of a pocket passer, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. They're going to bring another receiver in at some point here as well. So
they got James Washington. They don't need
no, they're
anything
good.
else.
And they drafted Jalen Tolbert. You never know.
Yep.
And they drafted Jalen Tolbert. So to me, this was the same thing. Easy pick. I was down to, but at the same time, even at 10, I was like, man, all those quarterbacks are gone. I still got a really good one, but even at 10, I'm like, okay, it's Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and then all of a sudden after I get out of that, I'm in a different tier altogether, right? Like I'm going to get a different tier of quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I had no choice to take a quarterback here. And I know being tight end premium, somebody could have taken Kyle Pitts here, like, oh, he's one of one, but then you're hurting yourself at the most important position. You got to remember in SuperFlex leagues, the highest scoring player is going to be the quarterback. We talked about last week, quarterback 20
it's still a top 50 player.
It's still a top 50 fantasy overall scorer, and he's quarterback 20 overall. Like they still score the most points always, and it's easy if you're in a 1 QB league to like, oh, they're no big deal. But in SuperFlex, that's massive. You have two top scoring 50 players.
Yeah, you need it.
And that's a quarterback. Same thing. There's quarterback value later too. So I took Dak Prescott. Lamar Jackson went immediately afterwards to A-Elm 91. Spencer was on at the turn. Spencer JB33. He took Kyle Pitts and Russell Wilson. What do you guys think about that turn?
That's a good nice duo there because Kyle Pitts in a tight end premium. I think there are two clear top tight ends in Kyle Pitts and Mark Andrews. He's able to lock down one of those guys. And Russell Wilson is the last guy in a tier for me of the quarterbacks.
I agree.
So being able to snatch him, he set himself up for really good success. And looking through his team, he did a very good job drafting. There were several teams in here that did a very good job drafting their team, but that was definitely one of the teams, especially with the slight disadvantage of being at 112 when there's no third-round reversal. It is a slight disadvantage. I still think he did a good job building his team.
According to Sleeper's ADP, Russell Wilson's going 21st right now in SuperFlex draft. So that's, according to ADP right now, it's a little bit of a reach.
Sure.
But I disagree. I think it's a solid pick. He's going to be in Denver for a while. They give him a haul for him. He's got some really good weapons there.
Yep.
So to me,
and when you're waiting until 312, I mean, we'll get to who would have been left at that point, but it was slim pickings by that point. And there was a lot of quarterbacks.
And that's the thing in every single draft, it's going to be a little bit different how fast these guys come off the board. And these guys were coming off the board almost. There's only 2 picks before he went that weren't, or 3 picks. I forgot about Jonathan Taylor, but 3 picks throughout the first round that weren't quarterbacks. So they were really coming off the board.
So he knew what he was doing. He could have gone quarterback. But I like this strategy of like, listen, if I'm getting the last of that tier 1 quarterbacks, I'm getting the tier 1 tight end.
Right.
This is again, SuperFlex tight end premium. So he went with that same approach. Like I'm getting those cornerstone players. I'm getting a 21-year-old tight end that's gonna be a tight end 1, top 4 for a decade.
Right.
Now tight ends play longer than most players, and I'm gonna get a tier 1 QB1. So I love his approach. I actually do. I'm with you, Garrett. Like I like his team overall. I thought he did a really good job from the 12 hole.
I was gonna say Matt brought up a good point because like, you can't just follow ADP and rankings. When slitting in a 12 hole in a SuperFlex draft, the quarterbacks are flying off the board. So I think
you have to wait a long time for it to come back to you when you're at the ends there.
Yeah, the only reason you would not take quarterback there is all of a sudden it went Jonathan Taylor, and Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and it went like that, and a couple quarterbacks went. And then you're like, oh, there's some value there. But when you see a run going,
yeah, you got to get in it.
You got to grab those.
You got to react. Yep.
I always believe, too, I say, is like, I like to be the guy that starts a run. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be the guy that starts a run. Like, oh, wow, they're also the quarterbacks go. I got to take the quarterbacks. And when you do that, it opens up another position.
Yeah, if you're able to be the guy
you.
that starts it, it's awesome. But I never hate being the last guy in because you're like, I got the guy in the tier I wanted.
Yeah.
I just snuck in. I'm good. But what happens though is then you start to see reaches that people will overdraft that position because it's becoming scarce.
Yeah.
And that's where you really start to lose value on your team quickly.
It is having more quarterbacks than other positions. So if I take a quarterback and then so he takes Russell Wilson here. Now he took that last guy. All the other people that took Jamar Chase, Jonathan Taylor are like, oh crap, like there's no.
Yeah.
But they're
What do I do now?
What quarterbacks to be left for me? So you're kind of forcing their hands to do exactly what we said to have to do, which is reach. Because now there's a cornerstone player and they missed out on him. At 2-2, it went Christian McCaffrey. I was back on the clock at 2-3. To me, this was an easy choice. You mentioned Russell Wilson was like that last tier quarterback. I thought about potentially going Trevor Lawrence just because of his youth, his potential. I still think he's closer to tier 1 than he is to middle tier 2. Let me put that. I think Trevor Lawrence has an extremely high ceiling. Remember, Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions. He was terrible his first year. And then look at him. Look at Troy Aikman. Terrible his first year. John Elway, terrible. Tons of quarterbacks are bad their first year, and they turn out to be just fine. But I went Mark Andrews. I mentioned before, I look at cornerstone players, right? Like, how's this league set up? What is my league structure? How the point scoring handled? How many position? How many flexes do I have? When I see Mark Andrews, who would have finished as a top 6 PPR wide receiver available in a regular fantasy league, now it's tight end premium. Mark Andrews to me is a no-brainer.
Yep.
It somewhat made me wish that since he was available, like, if I would have taken Lamar Jackson there, I would have had to stack. Like, that would have been pretty nice too.
Sure.
But it didn't work out that way. In hindsight, I would have flipped that if I'd known I was getting Mark Andrews, so I had to stack. But to me, again, no-brainer. Mark Andrews, an elite tier tight end in a tight end premium league. We talk about it all the time on the show. There's only about 3 or 4 of these guys in existence, and one is already gone, so that field's cut in 25% gone. I needed Mark Andrews on my team. It was a no-brainer, and that's who I took.
Yep, absolutely, man. And obviously the next 2 picks that came off were both really good players, CeeDee Lamb and DeAndre Swift. And then I was on the clock. I was kind of salty. I was hoping that Mark Andrews was going to be the guy that fell to me. He didn't. I did want to go for a tight end. I wanted to get one of the elite guys. I went and got George Kittle. Obviously, injury issues are going to be the biggest concern with him. When he's on the field, he's usually producing and at a high level. So with it being a tight end premium, I went for it. None of the quarterbacks were really jumping off at me at that point. There was some thought in my brain about Trevor Lawrence as well, but I thought maybe I could still get somebody pretty good next round, considering I'm at 7.
I was bummed, and I knew that you were probably going to go tight end there.
Yeah.
But I've seen him fall to the 3rd several times, so I was really thinking at the end of the 2nd round, I was like, I'm going to be able to scoop up Kittle. This is going to be nice.
His ADP on Sleeper is 41, but I'm not sure if tight end premium's captured. It's just SuperFlex ADP.
Sure. But yeah, I've seen him even in SuperFlex or in tight end premium. I've seen him fall, so that's what I was hoping would be the case. But
not with
you though.
Not with Pitts going in the 1st and then Rich taking Andrews again.
Yep.
Yeah, so I had to get something.
Looking back at your team as a whole, we won't go to the rest of what your team is. Looking back at how the draft unfolded for you, if you can go back, like I said, I'm taking Lamar Jackson. Would you have taken Trevor Lawrence? Because looking at your team, going back, I would have taken Trevor Lawrence there in hindsight, of course.
Well, sure. I mean, I ended up getting some pretty good tight ends that fell to me later on as well.
So would you have taken Trevor Lawrence in hindsight if you had a crystal ball or 2 in your pocket and you could see what's going on?
Oh, hey.
Would you have taken him there?
What is that in my pocket?
It's shiny.
No, I think that would be a pretty good idea. Yes.
Okay.
I probably would have, just knowing what I know now, but at the time I had no idea.
No clue. Yep.
So yeah, I went with it.
So what came off the board after that?
Yeah. So after that, Jalen Hurts comes off the board, high risk, but potentially high reward player there, and it's super flex.
So these are the kind of risks that Rich was talking about, like right, like when you see Russell Wilson go off the board, and you start reaching for these other guys that you think you get points from.
Absolutely. Then Cooper Kupp goes off the board at 2-8. A little bit older of a receiver there, but obviously incredibly productive last year. Right. Then it gets to Jared. Jared ended up going with Trevor Lawrence. We talked about Trevor Lawrence quite a bit so far. Jared, risk was worth it there at 2-9 for you, right?
Yeah, I'm still buying into Trevor Lawrence. I think the coaching change down there is going to do well for him. They're trying to, give him some weapons, obviously. So I'm still all in Trevor Lawrence. I think he's gonna be fine.
And I love what Jared did here. I mean, he his franchise. We mentioned before in his rookie drafts, these quarterbacks are going to go so quick. It's so hard to acquire quarterbacks in SuperFlex, and he has Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, 2 under the age of 25 quarterbacks, one already established as a super elite, and one of the best prospects we've seen since Andrew Luck. He's got both of them. You do the same draft a year ago, Trevor Lawrence is in there. So it's just
probably not.
It's Urban Meyer effect. It's kind of burned him and got him there. So for me, Jared probably had the best start of anybody to start the draft with getting 2 cornerstone players because it just opens up.
He said start, not finish.
Of course.
I'm feeling pretty good.
You know, and again, yeah, I mean, you can start great. You can
texted
start
everybody, I
strong,
was
but
like,
if you end weak, like you're leaving unsatisfied.
My
so,
team is so good.
and then me and Matt just copy pasted. It was great.
And I just ignored you guys and enjoyed the concert.
One of my favorite things to do when people text like stuff like that, I love to just copy what they wrote and then literally paste what they wrote. I love doing it. I don't know why it makes me laugh. I laugh like a little school kid all the time. So I love the pick.
Team 3, which had a name earlier, I don't know what it is now.
They've withdrawn.
They said
they don't want to be made fun of on the podcast.
That's what it is. And I was very salty because I had a feeling this was going to happen where I was going to get Javonte Williams taken right in front of me. And that's exactly what happened. Williams.
Would you have taken him there?
I would have. Yeah. And it would have then changed my 3-2 pick as
obviously.
well. But I did not love the turn here. I'll be honest. A lot of the players that were available to me, I wasn't vibing with. So I ended up going with Deebo Samuel at 211, which I was happy with, especially because I feel a lot better now that he's reported. Things seem to be chilling out a little bit there. So I was happy with to get a guy that was that productive last year as my wide receiver 1. I like to have a good young wide receiver core, and you'll see that throughout my draft. I have a very young wide receiver core with a lot of upside. So that's how I like to build it. But Deebo Samuel was kind of that safety piece, that cornerstone piece at the wide receiver that I really wanted.
Young but established.
Yep.
That's a nice one to start off with.
And then Mr. Jonathan Taylor here, Liam, my good friend, at 1-1. You know, after that, terrible divorce of just marrying somebody for their looks, what does he do? He ends up being potentially catfished because with his next 2 picks, he takes Trey Lance and Justin Fields. So same thing. The pitcher looks great. The bios look fantastic. But how's this gonna turn out in our relationship? How's this gonna work? Because
they have upside.
It looks good from the outside, and I'm glad you want to be a part of my team and be with me forever potentially. When you show up, which is on the field for the first time, what am I going to get?
It's a lot of risk.
Are you what the profile says? Or am I getting, what's his face from the Goonies? Chunk. Chunk from the Goonies.
Chunk's
it's potential.
The kid.
Oh, yeah, Chunk's the kid.
Chunk is a kid.
That's right.
Oh, Sloth.
Sloth. There it is.
Sloth.
My favorite part of that movie when he's talking about like I threw up over the ledge. You remember that part?
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah, because they're going to stick his hand in the blender and they're like, tell us everything. He's like, okay, when I was 3. And he just says every bad thing he ever did. He got that wet popcorn and was like, and then everybody started throwing up on each other.
Oh, so gross.
Great movie.
It is.
So he takes Trey Lance. He takes Justin Fields. Of course, tons of upside here. But you're taking a lot of risks.
Lots of risk.
You take a for sure thing at a running back, and then you take a big risk at the 2 most important positions. Where like now all of a sudden these fail out, you're trading Jonathan Taylor away. And again, if you try to take Jonathan Taylor away, you can't get Josh Allen, you can't get Pat Mahomes, you can't get Justin Herbert, you can't get Justin Jefferson, you can't get Jamar Chase, you can't get any of those quarterbacks.
Right.
And that's even if Jonathan Taylor has the exact same year they had last year.
Well,
you
and
still can't get those players.
That's the difficult part where I was at with Deebo. As much as I wanted to take my second quarterback here, it got to the point where the value was just gone. There was no more value at quarterback, and I was going to have to start reaching at quarterback, and I just wasn't comfortable doing that because even though I love upside, I can't miss in the first 3 rounds. If you miss on players in the first 3 rounds, that sets you back so far. So I had to make sure I hit. And I'm a bigger Justin Fields guy than Trey Lance, but as much as I love Fields, I know that he's very much so a risk right now too. And taking him inside the top 3 rounds, which you'll probably have to get him, is just a lot of risk for me. So that's why I just couldn't pull the trigger on one of those guys there.
I like this idea of like, okay, I'm getting two really young guys that they hit.
If it pans out, it's great.
I have what Jared has, right? But if he misses, you're screwed. Like, I wouldn't mind like a Matt Stafford, a Derek Carr there just to offset the Trey Lance.
Make it a little safer.
Just in case they give me a little. If I'm going quarterback, I'm just looking at one of those guys besides two risk. Because again, you mentioned those first 3 picks, like those are cornerstone players. Like I try to eliminate as much risk as possible in my first 3 picks. Like I want to take proven commodities, guys that I like, or at least guys that I really scouted that I think, like maybe a running back. But again, I'm not taking a running back that high anyway. So
speak for yourself.
Oh, I know. So Garrett's on the clock here next. But before we get to Garrett, I got to tell you about some more friends we have. And those are our friends over at FFPC. And you're like, Rich, you told us all about prospects. Tell us about FFPC. What does that stand for?
Rich.
Is that how our fans sound?
Rich.
So I sound when I talk to myself in my dreams.
All right. Well, tell us about it, man.
FFPC launched in 2010. It's home of the largest high stakes dynasty leagues in the world. Yeah, that's a big place. So
If you're a baller, this is where you play.
For sure.
this is where you play. They have over 1,000 leagues right now, and they have startups started daily. You know, they start at $77 up to $2,500 per team. And they have all the different settings that you're looking for, whether it be SuperFlex, IDP, all that stuff. They have it all. And what I love about FFPC, we've talked about this multiple times on the show about them before they're even partners of ours, is that they've never had a league fail ever. Ooh. So if you join an FFPC League Dynasty team, you have that security of long-term investment, right? Because nothing's worse when you join a Dynasty League and you're paying your dues, you make all these trades for the future, and then the league folds. And you're like, dude, what? I literally just wasted 3 years of money. My buy-in was $2,500. I'm out $7,500 because these scumbuckets couldn't afford their entry fee. FFPC is not going to do that to you. They're going to guarantee that your league. Well, I don't know about. They never told me they're guaranteed, but they never had a league fail, so I'm pretty sure.
The system they have set up protects you from that.
It's a huge thing that most people don't realize is that security of a league not folding. It's why we've always had a lot of success with our Dynasty Nerds leagues because people join and they're like, oh, this league will never fold because they'll fill it because they're a Dynasty website.
I mean, you don't want to be stuck, halfway through a 2-year rebuild or 3-year rebuild or something like that, and have the league fold because then you just, like you said, you just wasted a couple entry fees.
100%. They're a licensed fantasy game operator, so all their prizes are paid quickly, promptly. They're protected. They're monitored by Dynasty commissioners to make sure everything's going cool. So what do you got to do to join an awesome league at FFPC? All you got to do is go to myffpc.com. That's myffpc.com, myffpc.com. Enter the promo code NERDS. And what's that going to get you? It's going to give you $35 off any new FFPC startup registration. All you got to do is click the link in the show notes. Get over there, use that promo code, save some money, use a hosting platform that you're going to enjoy, and maybe you want to step up your Dynasty game, and this is the place to do it. I love it. And even better, you can integrate it with the Dynasty GM.
Yeah, you can.
That's right. That's right, fellas. Jump on there today. Garrett, you're in the clock in the 3rd round.
I am.
So you already have yourself a little, Josh Allen, a little Deebo Samuel.
I like it.
What you do in the 3rd? What's your
I
cornerstone?
love this, by the way, because you got sniped right before and you had to take a player you hate so much.
Yeah, this was really tough for me to do. And it's not that I hate the player. He's actually hilarious, and I love listening to his interviews because he's hilarious.
He is
Did you hear him talking today about people calling him fat?
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, it was awesome.
He's like, you guys not realize I played at 242 last year? Like,
Yeah, it was 2 more pounds.
Yeah.
He was calling the reporters out. It was great.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
but he
it was
does it in like
hilarious.
the nicest way.
Yeah,
He's such a good dude. But I've not been the biggest proponent of his game, partly due to his age, his situation, a few different things. But there are 3, maybe 4 running backs that are young, that are productive, and that are worthwhile of a top 25 or so startup pick.
They own the shares.
Bell cows.
Bell cow guys.
The running back share. Yep.
And right now, Najee Harris, he's who I took at 3-2. And
really?
that is who I took, yes. Right now, his ADP in SuperFlex is around 10. Like in most drafts, he's going late 1st round, if not early 2nd round. So it got to the point where these guys are probably, this is all Nerd Herd people. They listen to us on the podcast.
Right.
They probably listen to me saying you shouldn't draft Najee Harris, or us in general talking about we don't want to invest in running backs early. But it gets to a point where value is value.
Yep.
And I knew there is a big drop off after him. Now, there was another guy that I was even considering if I went running back route. The other two guys I was considering were A.J. Brown and T. Higgins. I like both those players. I would have been just fine taking one of those two. Breece Hall was the only other running back I would have even considered, but there's a lot more risk at this point with him just because we haven't seen him play yet. We've seen Najee do it. We've seen him do it successfully. So I ended up taking Najee Harris at 3-2. It was difficult for me to do, but it also set me up for a team that can be a legitimate win now team.
And I think it's a good point there too, Garrett, is like, listen, this is a player that I don't overly love in Dynasty, but it just screams value here, and I got to scoop up that value. Because that's what you're doing once you, even more so, once you start getting around 3, right around here, 3, and the rest of the draft, like, you're looking for value. It goes the same thing, best player available. Like, you're searching for that value, and you're going to find it every single draft. There's going to be a player here, like, I can't believe he's here. I've got 5 receivers. I got 5 of them, but Mike Williams is still on the board. I guess I have 6 receivers now because I have to take that value.
And you can always trade lader. You can always trade later.
And what's good about too is like
if it's a real league.
Some people think about like, oh, well, I can then trade Mike Williams. No, what that does. So say you miss a running back, right? Instead of trading Mike Williams, who's a wide receiver,
trade your wide receiver 3.
You can move up and trade the second wide receiver you're drafted because you have so much good depth. Now it puts you in a position where you could trade that player away. And sometimes people think like, oh, if I draft this player, I can trade this player. Well, if it gives you more depth, why don't you trade, if you have all that good commodity, trade like your second or third best guy. Like get more value. If you like the player enough to draft him, get more value for the guy above him. So I like to pick there at Najee Harris just because you're right. He's a 3-down bell cow back. He will always be tradable. He's a tradable asset at any time. And you at least solidify one spot.
Now, your option too.
I probably would have taken Najee Harris there. I probably would have went either, who are the couple guys that went next here?
The next guy was Derek Carr, which was also in consideration, but it just at that point, I felt like quarterback was no longer a value. It was a bit of a reach. So, so I really wasn't strongly considering that. But that's where Team 3 went. They went with Derek Carr. Jared, then you ended up going with A.J. Brown, which was one of the 2 players, him and T. Higgins, that I was strongly considering. Why did you take A.J. Brown over T. Higgins?
Or anybody else?
Early in startups, I like to build around wide receivers. That's my strategy usually because I know that I can draft running backs later and plug them in instantly and get production. Or I can trade for one of those guys that is a backup, and the starter gets hurt if I'm trying to make a run. Sure. So I like A.J. Brown just a little more than T. Higgins. I'm a little bit worried about his landing spot with Hurts just because, he's not a great passer as compared to Joe Burrow, but I just think A.J. Brown is a more dynamic player. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's able to make those big plays and score touchdowns. And T. Higgins is always going to be in the shadow of Jamar Chase. So I think A.J. Brown's going to be. I mean, do you guys agree he's the alpha in that?
I
offense?
love the pick.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I thought it was a fantastic pick. Again, it's just something that Trevor Lawrence fell into your lap. A guy like A.J. Brown fell right into your lap. I don't think Jared drafted well. I just think he was gifted. Like he was just gifted these players. Like
you are welcome.
There was no thinking. He's like, oh wow, A.J. Brown's there. Click. No thinking. Like there it is. Like he's when you're like in those the drafts, most people just draft like whoever's on the screen at the top. He's just like,
that just happened to be the one at the top of the screen every time.
This is easy.
I'm on the clock again here.
Yeah, we were like, oh, is Jared getting auto picked? No, just taking the best player available because you guys keep leaving him for me. So I thought it was a fantastic pick.
Yep.
Where to go getting up to you here after he took A.J. Brown, Matt?
Yeah, so really the whole third round here kind of from Garrett on sort of shaped my pick, because I was similarly looking at a lot of these same players, and A.J. Brown would have probably been the last one that I was like gung-ho about. I'm lukewarm. I'm on T. Higgins just because I do think he's kind of like always going to be the second option there, and I wouldn't want to take him probably quite this early. But Najee Harris was a cliff for me for the running backs. And then you mentioned the Derek Carr, A.J. Brown, but then Matthew Stafford went also, and then T. Higgins went. And now I'm kind of sitting here wondering, are there any of these wide receivers that really jump off the map for me Not really. I was seeing a lot of value in the guys that were, had ADP like 2 or 3 rounds later.
Sure.
So I wasn't going to go wide receiver there, and I ended up going. So this was kind of where my strategy kind of took a turn. I wasn't sure what I was with my first 2 picks, right? I had Joe Burrow first, George Kittle.
Could kind of go either way on that.
Could go either way. So this was when I kind of was like, all right, I'm going to jump in with both feet here. I'm going to go an older quarterback that I know for sure I'm going to get really good numbers out of. I'm going Aaron Rodgers here. I'm going to try to solidify these my top 2 quarterbacks. I got a really good tight end. I'm going to be able to get some really good wide receivers a little bit later. So I feel okay taking this older player here. And with Matthew Stafford going and Carr going, I felt like we were getting into some really wishy-washy quarterback 2 type of area. So I just wanted to get kind of the last guy that I felt really, really good about, and I took Aaron Rodgers there.
That's one of those picks. Like it's not a bad pick by any means, but like if I had to make that pick, I'm like, oh man,
I didn't feel great about it, but that it was like
I have a tough time taking anyone over the age of like 28. At quarterback 29, like that early.
The other guy who just got interviewed, like, you think about retiring? Yeah, I think about it every day.
I feel like
me.
It obviously does scare you, and that wasn't great news. I think it might have happened after I said that news broke. But I know what I'm going to get out of him. I know it's going to be at least this year and probably the next year. Next year, the third year will be a bonus if I get it. But it gives me plenty of time if this team takes a turn the wrong way to unload him.
Sure.
Because I know it's at least this year and next year.
His ADP right now is 49 in SuperFlex drafts.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So obviously their ADP is way off because I don't like any of their value. I think I would never.
Well, their ADP is ADP. It's just accumulation of average draft.
And who knows
picks,
what those drafts are
but
like silliness.
What quarterback off the board was Aaron Rodgers? Was it consistent with where he was
QB
there?
15.
So consistent.
Yeah, so pretty consistent with, the top 14 were gone.
Mm-hmm.
I just think our draft
quarterback early.
Yeah,
heavier.
and that's not captured in ADP.
Exactly.
So after Aaron Rodgers went Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and then I was on the clock. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I got 1 quarterback, 1 tight end. I mentioned before I want to grab my second quarterback. But after Matt took Aaron Rodgers, I was in the same boat as him. Even if Aaron Rodgers was available, I probably still honestly would not have taken Aaron Rodgers here because of that age cliff. I just wouldn't have taken him there. One of those players, like, he belongs to go there, but for my personal dynasty team, the way I build, like, I want to get more than, if I, again, top 3 picks, I need more than 2 years out of you, potentially. Mm-hmm. So I'm with Jared. I usually like to build around really young receivers. I want to get some. I felt like any younger receiver, because we had such a good run there of young guys there, would have been like a reach. So I took one of my top 5 dynasty receivers overall, and that's Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins. I think if he was still on Kansas City, he would have been long gone by this pick. Yeah. And for me, Tyreek Hill is not elite because of Pat Mahomes. Tyreek Hill is elite because of Tyreek Hill. Like, he's a premier route runner. He gets off the line better than anybody in the NFL, pretty much, him and Devontae Adams. He's got tremendous speed. Just signed a long-term deal there in Miami. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Right. He's got a good number 2 to offset him, and Jalen Waddle as well. So to me, this was a very easy pick. I thought about, like you said, like a guy like Breece Hall. Do I want to grab a running back here? And I was like, listen, I am not taking a running back before I get my first receiver because I'm not going to be left holding the bag on those receivers. Definitely knowing that, okay, if I'm not taking a quarterback here, I got to take a quarterback soon. So, because that pile is dwindling, and I'm not going to go into SuperFlex leagues with at least 2 quarterbacks that I could start and feel okay about.
And that was my Aaron Rodgers feeling. That's why
I understand it.
Doing a startup this year, you have to have 2023 draft in your mind that there's running backs in that class, and it's deep that you're going to be able to fill up on.
Absolutely.
I honestly feel about that. Every startup is I can get a running back later.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
I can get a running back later. Worst case, I could trade up in a draft. Definitely a super flex draft where the quarterbacks are going to go higher. Like, you can always move up to grab that running back. So I went Tyreek Hill. After that, it went Travis Kelce, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon. That's the turn. So the turn went Breece Hall, Joe Mixon. So he followed up with Kyle Pitts, Russell Wilson, and they went bam, bam, 2 young quality running backs, which, again, I don't hate these picks. Like, he knows it's not coming back to him for a while. There hasn't been a ton of running backs taken, so there's probably a run coming. So he grabbed 2 of them, and 2 very quality, one extremely high upside, and one a proven commodity.
Yep.
On the turn, it came Jalen Waddle. And then I was in the clock here again. So I'm thinking, do I look at some running backs here I don't love, like Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb? Those all seem like options.
Real quick, had Brees come back to you, would you have taken him at 4-3?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't have. I would have taken exactly. Here's what I was thinking of. I was thinking of Zach Wilson and Tua Tagovailoa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm a big Zach Wilson fan. I think he has a lot of room to grow. I love the weapons they gave him this year. So I like him. And I thought, if I take him, I pair him with Dak Prescott. If I take Zach Wilson, it's kind of going to force my hand to take another quarterback a little bit sooner. I felt a little bit more comfortable with Tua Tagovailoa because of the weapons he has and just the quarterback overall, what I've seen out of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's looked
A little bit safer.
A little safer to me. So and then what made it easy for me was I took Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, if I didn't take Tyreek Hill, there's a chance I could have taken Zach Wilson. But the tiebreaker for me, for the most part, not even that it was a little safer, it was a stack of Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa. So I knew I was coming away with the quarterback here. And if I didn't, it still would have been a receiver. It would not have been Breece Hall, most likely. Because, again, even seeing the running backs that had went, I know, like Matt thought about the receivers that he was comfortable with. I still very, very comfortable with all the running backs still available in my eyes. So there's already been a ton of quarterbacks taken.
There should be one or two guys left for you to take that you would like.
I'm on the back end of the draft here at 110. I'm not picking again for a while. I don't even want to risk to see what quarterbacks are coming back to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want to risk it. So I took Tua Tagovailoa, and then where'd we go there?
All right, so after that, it went DK Metcalf and Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler was a guy that I actually was kind of considering.
Especially with your build.
He's been the
with my build,
biggest steal according to ADP so far.
He was, but he obviously went right before me. Kind of keeping with the theme of Aaron Rodgers being my pick last time and kind of forcing, I think, my team into more of a win now type of mode. I ended up going my second tight end here just because, it's screw all you guys. I'm taking them all. And I went Darren Waller here. Plus, it's a mock draft and you can do whatever the hell you want.
That's the fun part.
So I went Darren Waller. I got my second tight end in the tight end premium, and I feel really good about both of them. This was the reason, obviously, Rich was saying, would I have earlier, skipped the Kittle and kind of
just
taken T-Law if I had, hindsight, obviously being 2020, I would have, because I wouldn't have I would have gotten Darren Waller right here, but Darren Waller's my pick. I got two tight ends, two quarterbacks through the first four rounds.
A great trade piece if needed to be. And what's great is because the ages are so close. Is again goes back to the other comment. Taking Darren Waller doesn't mean I could trade Darren Waller. That puts you in position to trade George Kittle if need be for a running back. Possibly a George Kittle and Aaron Rodgers combo to a contender could get you a young quarterback with upside and future assets.
You could start both of those dudes.
Yeah, you could start them in the flex.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
I was surprised, though, because I've done startups with you, so I knew you like to take tight ends a lot. I've seen it happen to my detriment. But I was surprised that it was Darren Waller that you chose.
Yeah.
Because I know you and Rich have both been more on like the sell Darren Waller train for a while there.
Sure.
So why him specifically over the younger TJ Hawkinson?
I would have taken Hawkinson, by the way, here. If I was going double tight end, I would have taken Hawkinson.
I'm just curious.
The offset to George Kittle age. That's the only reason, because they're so close in age. That's where I went.
I was going. I know what I'm going to get out of this guy. I feel very comfortable that things are going to get opened
Produced
up
this year
for this.
So
year.
you're not too worried about Devontae Adams then?
I think they're going to work well together.
Okay.
I really do. I think in the short term this is going to be a nice little marriage. Those guys are going to open things up for each other, and he's going to be able to run much freer than he has in the past.
Okay.
Yep. And I think what it shows us too, Garrett, is Matt, by looking at what Matt's first four picks, Joe Burrow, George Kittle, Aaron Rodgers, Darren Waller, he's building. And sometimes this is
around the premiums.
He's building a win now team.
Oh, for
you
sure.
Know what I mean, like he's already realized. Okay, I got Rodgers, I got Kittle. I'm above 28 here on my last two picks. I'm going to win now. Who's going to give me the most points? And Darren Waller offers that avenue for you. So I already see the mold of where Matt's going with his team, and so it does kind of fall in line with there. There's no point to take a guy here that offers upside, right? Like a guy that's just like super young, unproven, because he doesn't help you now necessarily.
Right.
And the way your team's already structured after 3 rounds, you're ready to go.
I know Waller is going to be a top 5 guy. I just do.
Yeah. Again, if I would have went tight end, I would have went TJ Hawkinson. I would have been somewhat interested in guys like Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb here, just mildly, but I understand where you went with it.
Because it's a win now.
5 years on Waller. That's why I would take.
No, I totally get that reasoning, but I was strictly going based off of this year's points coming up. Like, and if things blow up and they don't work out, he is a tradable guy. So is Kittle.
Whichever one you can get
like
more
you
for.
mentioned. Exactly.
And you came back young enough after. We'll find out what your next 3 picks are. I thought you put a bow on those first, and they're not risky picks because they're proven combined, but risky in their age asset. You followed up with like good young guys after this.
I don't want a totally crusty old team.
Where if your team fell apart, you could trade those for really good picks or future players, and your team still has a good core. Let me put it that way.
I like to have a good mix of age and experience and all that kind of stuff throughout a thing. This one kind of got pushed a little bit more age to the top. And I did sprinkle in the younger guys, I think, with upside throughout. So
getting the Jared after Matt took Darren Waller, did go Saquon Barkley. It did go Dalvin Cook. And then Jared, you were on the clock.
Yep, I took TJ Hawkinson. Smashed. Yep, smashed that one.
Wow, look who's available. Wow, this is my lap. Oh, wow, such a light load. So love the pick again. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, AJ Brown. There's not many tight ends left that fall into that
They're not.
That are at least not French kissing, but pecking at tier 1 tight ends, and Hawkinson's there, right? His lips are on your lips.
Did you say
Hawkinson?
He did.
Did
I
I?
think he had some spit for him.
You definitely. I'm gonna dry my mouth. I talk too fast and I have a lot of saliva build up. That's what I do. It's a speech impediment, guys. Leave me alone.
Nope.
That's fine. I don't care. He's there. His lips are on you. You can feel his tongue trying to breach the hall, and you're like, "Hey, come on in." So great pick, Jared. Love what you're doing here. Your team looks great.
Thanks, Rich.
By the way, you're welcome.
All right,
Garrett, how we get to you?
Yeah, we're about to round out round 4. I don't know how much time we got left, Jared.
Don't worry about it. Just keep it moving. All right.
Yeah,
I'll let you know.
Do you ever tell me how to live my life?
Pot your lips. Let the tongue slide in.
So Nick Chubb goes off the board here at 410. So we're starting to see quite a few of those older running backs come off the board, guys that are in the 25 to 27, 28 range. A lot of those guys that are still very productive now, but we don't know how long they'll be productive. A lot of those guys are starting to come off the board here. And I waited on my second quarterback, and it got to the point here where I'm now in round 4. It's very rare for me to leave round 4 without having 2 quarterbacks. I've done it, but I usually don't like the results.
Exactly. You don't like the results.
So I'm glad I didn't reach, because once Aaron Rodgers went, the only other one that went between 3-7 and now here at 4-11 was when you took Tua. That was the only other quarterback that went for a round and a half here. And I think Zach Wilson is not far off from guys that went 2 full rounds ahead of him, guys like Trey Lance and Justin Fields. I think he's should be considered in a very similar vein as those players.
Catfish.
So I got Zach Wilson here at 4-11. I felt great about it. The only thing that was a slight hesitancy was, I think, especially because I was able to get a running back early, that does propel me towards a slight more of a win now. Is Zach Wilson a win now quarterback? So with my quarterback 3, I kind of had to keep that in mind with what I could maybe do here. But if it pans out, Zach Wilson is an incredible value here, bordering on the 5th round.
I love the value. I love the player. I almost took him over Tua. You know what I mean? Like if I had AJ Brown, I would have taken Zach Wilson. So I love the pick there. I thought it was great value. I love how you go back to the guy who's on the clock next, Liam, and gave him a little burn too. And again, Liam, we love you. This is nothing personal by any means. It's just we didn't like your mock draft, but we all learn. We all learn from
live
mocks.
Live and learn.
And Liam was on the clock next, and he's on the clock. I'm like, what is Liam gonna do next? This kid is full of surprises. And he took DJ Moore. I'm like, look at him. He's running the train. Look at him. And then he took Treylon Burks. I'm like, Liam, you were just starting to get back on track and he was black ice. And I like Treylon Burks, but still.
I would say I'm surprised to hear you say that, because I don't think this is crazy far off ADP.
It's not.
It's not, but not when Chris Godwin is on the board, not when Terry McLaurin. I mean, how much risky business are you? I mean, Liam's running around here with nothing but a pair of socks on and a white button-down T-shirt. This is risky business and sunglasses.
He's running around with matches at a gas station. You know what I mean? Like this thing could explode at any time, man.
Dude, it's just, and I like Treylon Burks a ton, but it's like, listen, this team is going to be either solid or it's just going to be a dumpster fire.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he's got so much risk here. So he takes DJ Moore, he takes Treylon Burks.
And back to me then.
Comes back to Jarrett.
We'll finish this 5th round, and then we'll finish the rest of the Nerd Herd show.
Okay, that sounds good. Fine. So we get back to me, and I've already gone with one running back, and I was really leaning on receiver, but looking down the board, there were about 25 receivers that I was like, I like a lot of these receivers.
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like the guys that were going 2 or 3 rounds later they were good. They were really good.
Exactly.
And they were still sitting there.
But there were only a couple young running backs still left that I liked, that I thought, you know what, even though I have Najee, if I can get a second young running back, that'll give me a win now team, but with a longer window than just, a year or two. So that's what I was kind of thinking there. So I ended up going with J.K. Dobbins in the 5th round. I know that he's coming off the injury, so you do have a little bit of risk here. But now that I'm in the 5th round, I'm a little more willing to take on some risk. I don't want to take on any risk in the first 3 rounds. I want to play it pretty safe, but I'm willing to take on a little more risk here. And I think of the risky running backs, there is a ton of upside, and I see a really good path for him to be successful with Lamar Jackson. There's been some decent reports about him coming back. So while it's still murky, we don't know for sure that he's going to be ready. I think his talent supersedes the risk here.
Yeah, I love the pick.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that as well. I think this is great value here in the 5th round. And he was one of those guys I was hoping might slide to me and then just didn't.
You see that video of him just laying out his trainer?
Trucking the trainer.
I watched that thing 6 times in a row.
Somebody wrote on Twitter that was pre-injury.
I need to watch that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it was pre-injury.
I don't care. It's still sweet.
Still sweet.
It's a good hit. Yeah.
I mean, you can watch. I watched Top Gun.
That's from
1988. Still good.
Great
Doesn't matter
movie.
how old it is.
Did you see the new one yet?
No.
It's very
Not
good.
yet.
The new one's great.
You and my dead grandmother tell me that. Everybody in the world saying, even from the afterlife, are telling me how good the new Top Gun is. I will go see it. But then, the new Jurassic Park.
Sorry, Rich.
The new Jurassic Park
I won't
comes out
tell
this
you
week.
about it.
I know.
So I have no choice. I can't see it this weekend because I'm going to see Jurassic Park.
By the way, the bundle, all 5 Jurassic Park movies, is at the Apple Store, $24 right now. Go out
Even
buy
with the new one?
Wow.
No, not the new one. All the 5
ones
leading
leading
up.
up to it.
So
That's
if you want to
incomplete
get all of them,
Wow.
$25
to get yourself ready for the movie, do it.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, so then you take J.K. Dobbins, and then it goes Deontay Johnson, and then Santa Claus over here.
Back to Mr. Wackerly.
So much joy just falling into his lap. Ho, ho, ho.
My team is so good.
Who does he get?
Alvin Kamara.
Unbelievable.
Perennial RB1.
The new generational LaShawn McCoy, the guy who's running back 1 every single year, which is literally impossible to do if you look at the odds. It's literally almost impossible to do it.
Still only 26.
You get one guy that does it a decade. A decade. You know how long a decade is, Garrett?
37 years.
That's incorrect. It's 10. Dang it. 10 years. That's a lifetime. That is a
37,
lifetime.
Such a random number.
So
I knew the answer.
he gets Alvin Kamara. What a pick. What
Love
a
it.
team so far. This guy is crushing it by
Man,
literally hitting.
We're young. We're
Draft.
still competing this year. It's a win-win.
And then it goes to get to Matt.
It goes Derrick Henry and then Chris Godwin, and then it's on me. So obviously,
Were you upset Chris Godwin that went there or you didn't care?
I did not care about Chris Godwin.
I
No,
don't think so. He doesn't seem like a Godwin fan.
I mean, I'm
An atheist? Apparently.
lukewarm on him. I guess
I knew something like that was coming.
we'll call it that. I was upset by all the running backs I couldn't get.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a run.
There was a bit of a run, so here I am stuck without a running back option
Unfortunately,
again.
you're not Jared
Your team's
Wackerly.
not that good.
No, what?
Oh,
We're
the trash talk.
How's your nuts feel after that kick?
You know what?
So much for win now.
We were talking about this before the show, and we all like our teams, and we want to make this a real league. It's on. Let's make it a real league.
It's on.
Let's fill these orphans and let's go, because I will crush you.
We'll invite these people.
Liam's like, no.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Well, who did Matt take? We got to know who he
All right.
takes.
So obviously,
He's kicking man in the nuts. We don't even know who he took
I'm
yet.
going Scary Terry.
It's a good pick.
Terry McLaurin, I think, is a
great
good
pick.
pick. Obviously, very, very solid numbers. He's a guy that's going to land in the top 20 at wide receiver, literally no matter what. I mean, and this year he's going to have much better quarterback play than he has had in the past. So Scary Terry, I think, was just kind of one of these guys that I knew what I can expect out of him. And with all the kind of win now stuff falling to me, I wanted somebody that was young, but that was going to produce, and that I think it fits Terry to a T.
And I know what you're thinking. You're like, dude, in 15 more rounds, I can get this stack with Carson Wentz.
I was not thinking.
We'll see how it all plays out.
I was not thinking.
Hey, he was
Stay
quarterback
tuned.
14 last year.
Stay tuned. Next on the
Jared, you're going to die out on that limb, aren't you?
yeah,
Call you Jared.
He did, but that's okay.
Garrett,
I'll live
no,
with
I
it.
didn't. I said Garrett.
you said Jared.
Did I?
Yeah.
All right, Jared.
He was thinking.
All right,
about killing
Jarrett.
me.
Gary, let's go.
Next at 5'8", it goes Michael Pittman Jr. Another fantastic pick.
Yeah, that was the guy I was thinking about too.
Then it goes Mac Jones, which is a solid pick here. You know, solid pick.
Sure, fifth round.
And then I'm on the clock, and I'm thinking, okay, going into this, I'm like, who's gonna be? After I took Tua, I was like, who's gonna be my second receiver? You know, there's a ton out there. I'm with you guys. Like, who's gonna be my second receiver? Then you see that small run of running backs going, and I'm looking at my guy sitting there looking me in the eyes, and it's Kenneth Walker. I love Kenneth Walker.
You like ETN a lot too, so I wasn't sure which one you were going to go with.
I
know.
did like ETN a
I
lot,
know.
but one has ACL injury, one doesn't.
That is true.
So I took my guy, Kenneth Walker, and I'm very good. I'm very happy about it. I get a guy that, again, risk involved, but if you're going to risk on a young guy, you're going to risk on a running back because odds are where he was drafted, he's giving me something. And when running backs give you something and they stay healthy, they're worst case a running back too.
Right.
So
To clarify, it was ETN did not tear his ACL. It was his foot.
oh yeah, he had
Tore his foot.
yeah, he
Tore it off,
he had,
man.
I always say ACL.
Clean
It was,
off. They taped it on, and he's good to go.
he had that bad injury, right? The one that
Was it
like
the Liz Frank?
Yes,
Liz Frank.
that's what it was.
Yeah, but he's looked great.
I'm just going to say he
Elizabeth.
tore his foot.
Dude, he's looked great in camp so far.
Yeah, you were watching him.
All the time. I'm a big ETN fan. I watch him out, check him out, read his bio.
The only
He flew
person-
down to Jacksonville, got some scouting.
Yeah,
he had the
only
little
person-
He's been
binoculars.
there all day, every
The only
day.
person I
Yeah.
checked out
Looks
was
great.
Lenny. That picture of Lenny that guy
Oh
sent
man,
us.
tight end one.
Looking thick with two C's.
Boy,
Well, right after that, it went Travis Etienne. So
that might be
my dreams
D's.
were
I don't know.
crushed.
That guy's big.
He's what? Just wondering. And then Mike Evans to close out the fifth round. So let's go over our team so far individually. Through 5 rounds, Jared, you have
I thought you were going to say it for me. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, A.J. Brown, T.J. Hawkinson, and Alvin Kamara.
so everybody right now listens like Jared did a good job.
I did. I normally do.
I should have went to Garrett first.
I win a
'cause he
lot
picked
of my
before.
leagues.
Yeah, you should have went to me first. How dare
Garrett,
you.
through 5 rounds, your team is looking like
Josh Allen in the first, Debo Samuel in the second, Najee Harris in the third, Zach Wilson in the fourth, and J.K. Dobbins in the fifth.
not bad.
Pretty
Not bad.
great. Winner, chicken dinner.
You did get like a bad. You had like a bad position. I feel like
You
in
have a
this
really
draft.
funny fart sound effect.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Matt, through 5 rounds, your team looks like
Joe Burrow, George Kittle, Aaron Rodgers, not Amari Rodgers.
That would be a bad third
That
round
would
pick.
be really bad. Darren Waller and Terry McLaurin.
not bad for team get off my lawn. And then next on the list is me through 5 rounds.
It's
Dak
me.
Prescott, Mark Andrews, Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, and Kenneth Walker.
Second best team. Yep.
I
Job.
like it. I'm okay with that. You
I like
do-
that team.
Through 5
I
through
think
5
it's second
rounds,
best after mine too. I agree.
Yeah, second best after mine.
Get off my
I agree.
lawn, Matt.
3.
So that's it. Now we're gonna keep going with this. We're gonna try and get through as many picks as possible on the Nerd Herd show. Remember, you can join the Nerd Herd anytime you want. Check it out right now.
Do it right
Nerd
now.
Herd.
Yep.
Get down there. You get so much stuff, tools, Discord, stuff.
The Discord's popping.
Pop,
Yeah.
pop, pop, pop,
Dynasty
pop, pop.
Nerds
Discord,
Film Room.
Discord.
Dynasty Nerds Rookie Nerd Score, Dynasty Rankings, so much more. And of course, the Dynasty GM, which is the #1 Dynasty tool in the world. If you want to see some of what it could do, just go to the Team Audit and check it out.
Yeah, go to the YouTube channel. Watch
Yeah.
the team audit. We
Yeah.
use the tool the whole time. That's what we
And
use.
it has a team analyzer in there. I'm telling you guys, it's the number. And I don't care. You can tweet this out to anybody, and I will debate them. I'm the master debater, and I will go on there and I will masterly debate these guys that the Dynasty Nerds GM is the number one Dynasty tool in the world.
Master debater is not two words you should be saying back to back.
I'm a grown
Out
man.
of all people.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
You don't think I
That
can
was,
debate well?
that was not on accident.
That was totally.
For sure.
You're a pervert.
DGM 2.0 is coming soon.
August 1st. Time for the GM for the expo, hopefully.
Rich always slaps a date on it.
He always has to.
Yeah.
I don't care. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. What? People are so.
It wouldn't be the first
You know
time.
what's
It won't
wrong
be the
with so many
last
people?
time.
So many people are hung up on being wrong. I have no problem being wrong because everybody's wrong. I know, but everybody's wrong. Like people are like,
Everybody's wrong.
Oh,
That's
you were
true.
wrong. I'm like, oh, sorry, Mr. Perfect. The last Mr. Perfect I knew was in WWE, and he wasn't even perfect. How many belts he won? That was like the 80s or 90s, right?
I love
Yeah,
Mr.
it was
Perfect.
wrong about, it's different about being wrong about a date and then wrong about a fantasy take.
I disagree.
All right.
I've been on playing dates that were wrong.
Well, one of you guys is wrong, so just let's move on.
I'm cutting all that out.
That's my number one. My number one thing when people are like, "Oh, when they want to debate me," I'm just like, "Well, listen, we're gonna find out.
That's
One of
true.
us will be right, and one of us will be wrong."
He's probably not wrong on many dates because Jared just always cuts it out anyways.
You son of a bitch! Cut that out, Jared.
Son of a blip.
So that's back. We'll be back next week. We're gonna be talking about ADP value, guys that we like. This is a guy that I like.
This is a guy.
After ADP of 150,
Late rounds.
so that's like after the 13th round.
something like that.
Oh God, my math is so bad. But we'll be back next week, nonetheless, like we are every Wednesday. Sometimes on Thursdays when we have stuff going on, but we'll be back next Wednesday, right?
Should be.
Should be.
Now, for the rest of this mock draft and how our teams end up, you got to turn into the Nerd Herd. So we'll talk to you soon.
Adios.